calm September evening in New Mexico shattered in seconds. The sky darkened, winds howled, and then out of nowhere, giant chunks of ice began hammering down. Cars were left dented like soda cans, rooftops ripped apart, and streets covered in a blanket of white, as if winter had suddenly crashed into fall. This wasn't your typical summer storm. This was late September when families expected warm sunsets, not a barrage of golf ball-sized hailstones tearing through their neighborhoods. In Albuquerque, Santa Fe, and towns across the state, thousands were caught off guard as the storm unleashed chaos with no time to prepare. It was loud, violent, and unforgettable. Residents described it as sounding like machine gun fire on the roof. For many, it wasn't just a storm. It was a wake-up call that nature is rewriting the rules of when and how disasters strike.
All this hail.
On September 28th and 29th, New Mexico faced one of the most destructive hailstorms in recent memory. What made it so shocking was not just the damage, but the timing. September in the Southwest usually means dry skies, warm afternoons, and the slow shift into fall. But this year, the atmosphere had other plans. As a cold front plunged over the state and collided with lingering summer heat, the skies over Albuquerque and Santa Fe turned from blue to menacing gray. Within minutes, thunder cracked like cannon fire, winds roared, and hailstones began to fall, some measuring between 1 and 2 inches in diameter, about the size of golf balls. The pounding was relentless. Cars parked in open lots were pitted with deep dents. Windshields shattered under the force, and rooftops made of lightweight shingles crumbled like paper under the icy assault. In rural areas, farmland and pastures were left looking as if they'd been shredded by a giant machine. Residents say it felt like the storm came out of nowhere. One moment they were enjoying a calm evening, and the next they were scrambling for shelter as nature unleashed chaos from above. In Albuquerque, the storm's impact was immediate and brutal. Residents reported hailstones slamming into their roofs and cars with deafening force, sounding like baseballs hitting metal. Neighborhood streets quickly filled with shattered glass roof shingles and ice pellets piling up like snowdrifts. Some families huddled in their basements as windows cracked under the relentless pounding. Others watched helplessly as their vehicles parked outside with no protection were left battered with craters and broken windshields. Just 60 miles to the northeast, Santa Fe faced its own nightmare. Along with the hail came violent winds that tore through the historic downtown. Mature trees snapped like twigs, their branches falling onto cars and power lines. Within minutes, entire blocks went dark as transformers blew out, leaving hundreds without electricity. The combination of hail, wind, and lightning made the city feel like it was under siege. Motorists caught on the highways scrambled to find cover, many pulling under overpasses, abandoned gas stations, or crowded parking garages. Those who couldn't escape described the storm as a war zone, with hail hammering so hard it drowned out the sound of their own voices inside the car. In Santa Fe's neighborhoods, the sudden blackouts left people stumbling in the dark, guided only by the eerie flashes of lightning cutting through the sky. By the time the storm moved east, both cities were littered with debris, rooftops punched full of holes, streets carpeted with broken branches, and cars rendered undrivable. It was a reminder that even in late September, when most New Mexicans expect calm skies, nature can flip the script in seconds. Outside the city centers, the storm unleashed its fury on New Mexico's agricultural backbone. In rural towns like Las Vegas and Ruidoso, farmers awoke to scenes of devastation. Corn stalks lay flattened across fields, their once tall green rows shredded into ribbons. Tomato plants were left bruised and broken, their fruit smashed into the mud by relentless ice. What should have been a season of harvest quickly turned into a season of loss. Many families who depend on small-scale farming to support themselves now face staggering economic setbacks. In just 10 minutes, we lost nearly half a year of work, one farmer told local reporters, holding a handful of crushed corn kernels in his palm. The sound of hail pelting tin barns spooked livestock as well. Cattle bunched together nervously in corners of their pens, while chickens scattered wildly in search of cover. Some ranchers even reported a sudden drop in milk production as cows grew stressed from the thunderous noise and the sharp temperature plunge that followed the storm. Roads leading into these communities were no safer. Country lanes turned slick with ice, sending pickup trucks skidding into ditches. Fallen power lines left families cut off from communication, forcing them to rely on neighbors for help. In areas where power and cell service failed completely, farmers were left isolated, unable to call for assistance as they tried to salvage what little remained of their crops. For many in these rural areas, this hailstorm wasn't just another weather event. It was a financial and emotional blow, deepening the uncertainty already fueled by changing climate patterns. From ruined fields to stressed animals, the damage underscored how fragile rural livelihoods can be when nature strikes without mercy. For the people of New Mexico, the storm was more than a meteorological event. It was a sudden test of survival. In Albuquerque, families were jolted awake by the deafening sound of ice pounding against their rooftops. Within minutes, cars parked on the streets were dented and windshields cracked, leaving many residents too frightened to even step outside. In Santa Fe, parents rushed to gather their children as tree branches snapped and fell onto power lines, plunging blocks of homes into darkness. The sudden blackout added to the fear, with residents relying on flashlights and cell phone screens to find safety. Motorists caught on highways pulled off under overpasses and parking garages, hoping to shield their vehicles from the relentless barrage of ice. The chaos wasn't confined to the cities. In rural towns like Las Vegas and Ruidoso, farmers watched helplessly as their crops, corn, tomatoes, and other late-season harvests were shredded by hailstones. Some ranchers reported their livestock panicking from the noise and the sharp drop in temperature, making it nearly impossible to calm or gather them. Although officials confirmed that there were no fatalities, the storm still left behind a trail of injuries. Several residents slipped on icy roads or were struck by shards of broken glass as windows shattered under the hail's impact. Hospitals treated dozens for cuts, bruises, and minor concussions. Perhaps most telling, though, was the sense of unpreparedness. Many residents admitted they had no idea a storm of this intensity could strike in late September. Weather alerts were limited, and while radar apps picked up the storm, not everyone had access or knew how to interpret the warnings in time. The result was a community caught off guard, scrambling to protect what they could in the middle of the night. The storm's aftermath stretched far beyond shattered windows and dented cars. Across New Mexico, daily life was thrown into disarray as transportation networks buckled under the sudden blow. In Albuquerque, slick roads and poor visibility led to dozens of fender benders overnight. Police reported a spike in calls as drivers lost control on hail-covered pavement, particularly along I-40 and I-25, where traffic crawled for hours. At the Albuquerque International Sunport, several flights were temporarily suspended after ground crews reported dangerous lightning nearby and concerns about hail damage to aircraft. Bus routes in both Santa Fe and Las Cruces faced delays as drivers waited for roads to clear. Rail service wasn't spared. Either hail accumulation on tracks forced regional trains to reduce speed or stop entirely until inspections confirmed it was safe to move again. For residents in rural areas, downed power lines and fallen trees created roadblocks that cut off entire neighborhoods, leaving emergency crews struggling to reach them. But perhaps the most pressing issue was not the disruption itself. It was the realization that New Mexico's infrastructure is not ready for storms like this. Lightweight roofing materials such as corrugated iron and asphalt shingles proved no match against hailstones the size of golf balls and, in some areas, baseballs. Insurance companies have already reported a surge in claims, and many residents face costly repairs not fully covered under standard policies. City officials quickly acknowledged the gaps. Local governments began reviewing building codes to push for stronger weather-resistant materials, while state leaders hinted at the need for federal assistance to upgrade infrastructure. Emergency communication systems also came under scrutiny. Many residents said they never received timely alerts or didn't know how to interpret them, raising concerns about how warnings are delivered, especially to rural and vulnerable populations. The storm, in short, has become more than a natural disaster. It's a policy wake-up call, forcing conversations about climate adaptation, disaster insurance, and investment in resilient infrastructure. As New Mexico cleans up from this historic hailstorm, one thing is clear: the impact of extreme weather is no longer a distant threat. It's right here, reshaping lives and communities in real time. From shattered skylights to devastated crops, the storm left scars that will take months, even years, to heal. But it also revealed the strength of neighbors standing shoulder to shoulder, proving that resilience is as much about people as it is about rebuilding. Now we want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced a hailstorm or any extreme weather that changed the way you prepare for the future? What's one step you think every family in America should take to stay ready when nature strikes? If you found this story powerful, don't forget to like this video, share it with friends, and subscribe so you'll never miss our in-depth coverage of breaking weather events around the world. Your support helps us bring stories like this to light, stories that matter, stories that connect us all.